Welcome back to the Blissful Badger. If you've been watching my channel, you know I have a lot of models. And I don't always like painting the exact same patterns on my armies. For instance, I already have Dark Angels and Blood Angels, both built so that they have different playstyles. With the number of Space Marine forces that I own, I've been slightly hesitant in how I wanted to build up my Leviathan box set and several of my Indomitus sets. With my Dark Angels being all about the plasma, having some Firstborn Marines, and all of my Terminators, and my Blood Angels having all of my jump units and assault intercessors, I have a fair amount of Phobos, including some Invictor Tactical Warsuits. And I also have the Infernus Marines. And so I decided, why not start a Salamanders army? Since I already have a green army, even if it is dark green, I decided I wanted to go with a slightly more unique color scheme. So I figured, why not go with a almost Legion of the Damned look? I really like the idea of flames. It gives me a lot of experience with freehanding. And I didn't want to go fully black, so I figured, why not go with a dark gray? So for this Salamander army, I definitely wanted to include a bunch of Melta and Flamers, where possible. But I also wanted to use the Phobos as a main force here. Each of these aspects is not really shown in my other two armies, and I like that idea for having a third playstyle. And so the stealthiness needed to be a priority, and the up-close and personal attacks for Adrax and Vulcan. So let me show you how I'm deciding to build this force using the models I have, and here it is. This is all of the models that I have set aside for this army. The only thing I really need to get is a Land Raider Redeemer. I have 2 Kit Bashes for Adrax and Vulcan, and for those I'm going to use a Praetor from Age of Darkness and an Ancient from Indomitus. Some of these models have been sitting on my shelf unpainted for several years, and a few are fairly new purchases, and some are still not built. My plan is to have 2 Invictor Tactical Warsuits, 2 old Dreadnoughts with multi-meltas and flamers, 20 Infiltrators, whether or not I run them as units of 5 or units of 10, depends on the game, 2 units of 5 Incursors, a Phobos Librarian and Lieutenant in Phobos armor to lead some of those squads, 20 Infernus Marines, a unit of 10 to be led by Vulcan, and either 2 units of 5 or another unit of 10, 2 Sternguard veteran squads, a unit of aggressors with a Gravis captain, a unit of 5 Reavers with a Reaver lieutenant, because where else am I going to run a Reaver lieutenant? A unit of Devastators with multi-meltas. I have to have some Firstborn in my army, right? A Apothecary Biologus with Eradicators, and a unit of Blade Guard with Adrax leading them. I have enough models to add to both the Eradicators and the Blade Guard to make them full units of 6. And then I am also going to build a Justiciar to go in this army, just to have a few extra options. Once I add the Land Raider to this army, I should be just over 3,000 points. So I have plenty of options in how I build this to play. Having 3 different Space Marine armies, all painted separately and having different playstyles, can possibly make a more complex collection, and there may be times when I want to run assault intercessors with this army. But with the casual play at the game shop I go to, I don't think they're going to have a problem with me running 3 different colors in my army, so long as they're all painted. So I painted a test scheme, and I came to the conclusion that I like a Vallejo dark gray as the base coat, with a dark emerald War Paints Fanatic trim on the shoulder pads and any other areas that have good trim. The metallics are going to have oily steel, and the undersuit is going to have black. I'm going to paint in that order and then do a Nuln Oil wash over the whole thing, and then I will go through and freehand all of the flame work. For my test model, I did Mephiston red and then deep yellow, but for the full army, I am probably going to do a good 6 or 7 colors throughout the flames. I believe that's going to give a much more vibrant look. Part of this army is to get better at trim and freehand, and so I look forward to all of that, and to actually get another army out on the table. With approximately 12,000 points of Space Marines, including Legends, it makes sense to have several different forces so I don't get tired of painting all the same things. And I think a dark gray, a dark green, and a dark red force for each looks good. And who knows, perhaps one day I'll even decide on a 4th army. You never know. Subscribe if you haven't so that you don't miss any future videos. I also want to thank my patrons and supporters for making these videos possible. And until next time, I hope you find your bit of bliss.